Matthew 6, verse 22, calls the eye the lamp of the body, not a window, not a lens, a lamp. Jesus does not say the eye sees light. He says the whole body fills with it. That means the eye is the source, not the receiver. In this reading, the eye corresponds to an interior faculty, the part of you that orients, attends, and either unifies or splits. The proof is in the Greek word he uses for single. It is the word haplos. It means folded once, undivided at the root, not merely pointed at the right object. We are going to walk verse by verse through the lamp, the single condition, the evil condition, and why verse 24 is not a separate thought. It is the same decode completed. By the end, you will have 2 practices under 5 minutes, both shaped directly from phrases in this passage. Most people land on verse 22 and treat it like a standalone line. But Jesus did not place it there alone. He placed it inside a 6-verse sequence, and that sequence starts 3 verses earlier. Verse 19 opens with a command: "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth." Then verse 20 gives the alternative: "Lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven." Then verse 21 lands the mechanism: "Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." Notice the verb in verses 19 and 20, lay up. That is not a passive drift. That is an active placement. You are doing something. You are putting your attention somewhere on purpose. And the passage treats that as a choice you make, not something that just happens to you. Now notice what follows the placement. Your heart moves toward it, not the other way around. The passage does not say, find your heart first and let it lead. It says place first, then the heart follows. Placement shapes the interior before you are even aware it is happening. Think about what that means in a normal day. You wake up, and within the first few minutes, your attention lands somewhere. A problem from yesterday, a worry about tomorrow, a task that feels unfinished. You did not decide to go there consciously, but something placed your attention there, and now your heart is already oriented in that direction before you have spoken a single word. The passage is naming that process, and it is naming it before the lamp verse even arrives. This is why the I verse does not arrive randomly. It arrives after a statement about where attention is already stored. The inner condition you live inside is being shaped before the lamp verse even begins. The soil is prepared before the seed is named. So when Jesus moves to verse 22 and names the eye as a lamp, he is not introducing a brand new idea. He is naming the faculty that is already in motion based on what came before. The eye is the faculty that attends to where you have placed your treasure. It is the lamp that illuminates what you are already oriented toward. Hold that sequence. Placement comes first. Heart follows the placement. Then the lamp is named. That order is going to matter as we move through the rest of the passage. Verse 22 opens with one sentence. The lamp of the body is the eye. Read that slowly. He did not call the eye a window. He did not call it a lens. He called it a lamp. A window receives light from outside. A lamp generates light from within. These are not the same function. And the text chose the second one. That is not a small distinction. It changes everything about what the passage is saying. If the eye were a window, you would depend on what light is available outside of you. A cloudy day would make you dark. A bright environment would make you full. The outer world would control the inner state. But a lamp does not work that way. A lamp carries its own source. Its condition depends on what is happening inside it, not on what is happening around it. And the condition of that lamp determines what fills the entire territory it occupies. Jesus names that territory immediately. The body, not the mind, not the soul, the whole body. The lamp of the body is the eye, and whatever the lamp does, it does to the whole system, not just to one part. Picture an oil lamp in a closed room. The lamp does not illuminate one corner and leave the rest dark. It fills the space it occupies. The whole room receives whatever the lamp produces. And if the lamp is dim or divided, the whole room is affected, not just the area directly above the flame. That is exactly the image the text is building. The whole body fills. The system is either lit or darkened based entirely on the condition of the one lamp inside it. The book of Proverbs holds the same correspondence. Chapter 20, verse 27 says, "The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord." A candle, an interior light source. Not something waiting for outside illumination, but something that already carries the capacity to produce it. These two passages are not saying the same thing accidentally. Proverbs names the spirit as a candle inside the human being. Matthew names the eye as the lamp of the body. Both are pointing toward the same interior structure. The light source is already within. The question is, what condition is it in? Jesus has not named the condition yet. He is doing something more foundational first. He is naming the faculty and telling you its function. The eye fills the whole body. That is what it does. It is a generator. And what it generates, the whole interior, lives inside. So before we reach the Greek word for single, sit with this for a moment. You have an interior lamp. Its condition determines what your whole system is filled with at any given time. That's what verse 22a is establishing. The faculty is named, the territory is named, the function is named. Now he names the condition that either switches the lamp on fully or begins to divide it. Verse 22 continues, "If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." The word translated as single is the Greek word hapless. It can mean folded once, undivided, without inner reservation, whole at the root. This is not the same thing as focused. A focused eye is pointed at one object, but hapless is not about direction alone. It is about structure. The faculty itself is not split. It is not divided against itself. It is operating as one unified movement. That distinction matters because you can point your attention at the right thing and still be divided. You can be sitting in prayer while part of you is running through a problem from yesterday. You can be reading a passage while something else beneath the surface is pulling in a different direction. The eye is aimed correctly, but it is not single. It is hapless that the passage is describing, not direction. Wholeness. Consider what it feels like when you are genuinely absorbed in something, not forcing your attention to stay, not fighting distraction, just present. The task in front of you has your full lamp. Nothing is held back. That interior state has a quality to it that is different from effortful concentration. The passage is pointing toward that quality. Not the effort to be single, but the condition of actually being so. And it says, when that condition is present, the whole body fills with light. The system responds to the state of the lamp. The Apostle James uses this same word in chapter 1, verse 5. He says, God gives to all liberally. The Greek word behind liberally is hapless. It means giving without inner reservation, giving without holding anything back, giving as one undivided act from an undivided source. That is the same word Jesus uses for the single eye, and James makes the structural opposite explicit just 3 verses later. Chapter 1, verse 8 says, "A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." Double-minded, two minds operating at once, two directions competing inside the same person at the same time. That is the structural opposite of hapless. So when Jesus says, "If thine eye be single," in this reading he is describing a state where the interior faculty is not at war with itself. It is not sending part of its attention one direction and part another. It is moving as one thing. And when that is the condition of the lamp, the whole body fills with light. Notice once more what fills, not the eye. The whole body. The territory is larger than the faculty. Whatever state the lamp is in, that state propagates through everything the lamp occupies. A unified interior faculty does not produce a partially lit system. It produces a full one. That is what the text says. Thy whole body shall be full of light. This is why the placement verse matters so deeply. Where your treasure is, your heart follows. And if the faculty that attends to that treasure is single, undivided, not pulled in two directions at once, the whole interior fills. The sequence is not decorative. It is structural, hapless, folded once, undivided at the root. That is the single condition. Now Jesus names the other one. Verse 23 says this, "If thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness." The word translated as evil here is the Greek word poneros. It can carry the sense of toilsome, labored, worn down by sustained conflict, not simply wicked in a moral sense, divided, strained, pulling in two directions without resolution. This is not the opposite of virtue. This is the opposite of hapless. If hapless is folded once and undivided, poneros is fraying. It is the lamp faculty in a state of sustained inner tension, not at rest, not moving as one thing, working against itself underneath the surface of whatever you are doing. Most people know this feeling without having a name for it. You are going through the motions of the day, and the whole system feels heavier than the tasks actually require, not exhausted from effort, worn down by something internal. That is the state the passage is naming. The lamp is not switched off. It is burning against itself, and the whole body fills with whatever that produces, and the result is the same structure as before, but completely inverted. The whole body fills with darkness. Same faculty, same territory, same verb, opposite condition, opposite result. The passage is running the same equation twice to show you that the variable is always the state of the lamp. But then Jesus adds a phrase that most readings pass over quickly. He says, "How great is that darkness?" That phrase is worth pausing on. He did not say the body is dark. He did not say a little darkness enters. He said, "How great is that darkness?" That is a degree word. It implies that darkness has depth, has magnitude, has scale. It is not simply present or absent, it compounds. In this reading, that degree language corresponds to the depth of the inner division. A brief moment of split attention is not the same as a sustained fractured state. The passage is describing what happens when the poneros condition is not just visited, but inhabited, and it treats the result as having a size. How great is that darkness? The word great is doing real work in that phrase. The Sermon on the Mount carries the same interior logic from a different angle just a chapter earlier. Matthew 5 verse 8 says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see." Pure in heart, a heart without inner division, and the result is inner sight. That is the same correspondence named from the heart side instead of the eye side. Both passages are in the same sermon. They are not separate teachings. They are the same teaching approached from two directions. So we now have both conditions named, haplous and poneros, single and divided, light filling the whole body or darkness filling it. And in this reading, the degree of that darkness corresponds to how deeply and how long the division is held. Correspondence, not medical claim. The passage has named the problem precisely. Now it names the structural reason the division cannot hold indefinitely. Verse 24 says, "No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other." Most readers treat this as the beginning of a new section about money and wealth, but look at where it lands in the sequence. Verse 22 names the single eye and its result. Verse 23 names the divided eye and its result. Verse 24 names what the divided eye is actually doing. It is serving two masters simultaneously. And the text says plainly that this is not structurally possible to maintain. This is not primarily a moral warning. It is a structural observation. Two masters cannot be served at once. Not because it is wrong to attempt it, but because the interior faculty cannot move in two directions at the same time and remain whole. One orientation will always receive more of the attention. The other receives what is left. And over time, the one that receives the remainder becomes what is functionally neglected. The word hate in this verse is not about hostility or ill will. It describes what happens naturally when a faculty is split and one direction draws most of the attention. The other direction is not attacked, it is just starved. And what is starved long enough becomes what is despised, not by intention, but by the structure of where the lamp has already been pointed. Now look at the full 6-verse unit as one movement. Verses 19 and 20 name where you place your attention. Verse 21 says the heart follows that placement. Verse 22 names the lamp and its function as a generator. The second half of verse 22 names the single condition and its result. Verse 23 names the divided condition and its result, including the degree of the darkness. Verse 24 names what the divided condition is structurally doing at the level of inner loyalty. This is one continuous decode, not 6 observations standing next to each other, one movement. Placement leads to heart location. Heart location is illuminated or darkened by the lamp faculty. The lamp faculty is either single or divided. The divided faculty is serving two masters, and two masters cannot both be fully served. Something always wins. And here is what the passage does not do. It does not command you to choose better. It does not offer a 5-step plan for eliminating the second master. It makes a structural observation and leaves you with it. No man can serve two masters. That is a statement about how the interior works, not a rebuke about what you have done wrong. It is the text naming reality. The lamp, the single eye, and the two masters are the same thing, named in 3 different registers. The question the passage leaves you with is which orientation is already drawing the most of your lamp right now. The first practice comes from the phrase, "If thine eye be single." First, sit still for 2 to 3 minutes. Notice how many directions your attention is currently moving. Name them, not to judge them and not to fix them, just to count them. That is the passage's divided condition made visible. You are looking at the lamp and seeing what state it is actually in right now. Second, choose one thing, a breath, a single word, a short phrase from this passage. Rest your attention on it without switching for 2 to 3 minutes. Not forcing, not clenching, just staying. Third, notice whether the interior settles or resists. The passage calls the settling singleness. It calls the resistance the other condition. You do not need to achieve anything here. You are just reading the passage from the inside and letting the text name what is actually happening. No outcome is promised. The text is not a protocol. It is a map. You are learning to read the map. The second practice comes from the phrase, "No man can serve 2 masters." First, take a piece of paper or open a blank note. Write down the 2 orientations currently competing for your primary attention. Not a task list, not obligations, inner directions, the things your attention moves toward naturally when it is not pointed at anything specific. Second, read verse 24 once slowly after writing them down. Just the verse, once. Third, let the passage name what you already know. You do not need to resolve anything tonight. You do not need to pick one and eliminate the other. The text just asks you to see it clearly. That is the beginning of the single condition, not the achievement of it, the beginning. The lamp is already in you. Jesus named it. The passage named both conditions. The sequence named the structure. Now you know what you're working with. That is the decode. That is the work.